Welcome everyone to the Pay Raise Playbook. I'm your host, Christy Rutherford. And today we're going to be talking about week 1 of 90 Days to Burnout Recovery, one of the greatest books ever written by me, of course. And so today we're going to have Karen Patwa, who's going to join us to talk about week 1 is admitting that you're not happy. So Karen is one of my former clients. I can't remember what year we worked together, Karen. Where you went?
That's your What Wi-Fi. Am I in? I'm in everything, Christy. It's too much. But okay. Thanks to you, I'll say thanks to you, I founded my consulting company last year. I think you know that.
So let's talk about, do you remember, because was interested when I talked to my clients 2 years later, y'all don't remember who y'all used to be. I remember. But do you remember what you were going through or who you were in your state of beingness? Because here's the thing about high achievers. High achievers refuse to say that we're going through something because we think that it's a sign of weakness. Yep. And before this call, I was thinking about when I was going through, like burning out, smoked out, doing too much, doing all these things. I thought I was hiding my, I won't call it crazy, but high achievers, we get into this mania of doing, and we never stop to take care of ourselves. And I thought that I was hiding it from the world until all my wheels fell off. And then when I started to look back and reflect, because once you collapse mentally from stage 2 of burnout, I had time to reflect on the SHIT show that I created of my life, right? So now I got time, Karen. You're like, I ain't got nothing else to do. I'm drinking liquor and eating cheese and snack mix. And so it's like, that's my superpower, to be able to call out highly successful women because I know what it looks like. I know what the avoidance looks like. So what was going on with you when you initially reached out to me? I think it was maybe 2-3 years ago. I can't remember what year it was.
Yeah, when I first talked to you, I remember, and this is like a lot of my my peers who did your program, that, well, what's my next step? Like, this is what's happened. Like, what's my next step? Like, I'm going to keep going the way I'm going. I just want to know, like, I just want some support on, like, my journey and what comes next from someone who, knows. And you were like, yeah, we'll help you do all that. And then the entire program is focused on being happy. And I'm like, being happy? Like, I never asked for this. Like, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with being happy. And you, every time I would see you, you would say different things to me, like, oh, like, Karen, like, what's up? What do you do? I'm like, yeah, I'm like, look, I'm growing, like, I'm figuring things out. And you're like, well, keep going, stop playing. And it took me a long time because one of the things that I had a realization about is that we don't even have a criterion for happiness. So, like, if I'm smiling or if I'm doing something I'm, decently enjoying, or if I get something done, I'm like, I'm happy, like, this got done, like, everything's great. But that's not what happiness is. And unbeknownst to me, like, I headed into your program, and moved towards that goal, which I didn't originally have, but it is the source of everything. And I think it's so important what you talk about, because when women don't realize that they are not happy, they can't actually do the things that they need to do in order to progress in life. And I didn't make the connection between what I was doing in my personal life and what I was doing in my work life. I was very focused on my work life, and this is how it is, and this is what I do. And then it's like, oh, wait, there's a connection there. And I think you forced that connection, which I'm forever grateful for.
So what's interesting is, because I know what it looks like, right? Is that my Wi-Fi, or is that, whose Wi-Fi is that?
You're trying to blame me for something?
And no, I'm trying to figure out whose Wi-Fi is spinning. I'm trying to figure out if I need to move, because my Wi-Fi is janky, but it's a little bit more jankier today than it didn't go out, Karen, until we started.
Well, that's when the real pressure starts.
When I hit boom, like, it started acting a little crazy. So I'm trying to figure out, what do I have connected that needs to be disconnected from this Wi-Fi so it can work properly. So I'm gonna ask you a question, and I'll get the Wi-Fi in order, because we live. What's interesting, what I love about our process is you were going through the motions, but you weren't really being the information. Like you were doing it, but you weren't becoming happy. And you talked about it. We don't have a marker, a key indicator for what happiness is.
We don't even
And
think we need one.
people are like, you happy? Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. And I
Yeah.
talked to a lawyer a couple of years ago, and she said, I think happiness is a moment. And I was like, oh. So
I've heard that one before. It's not
go
just
ahead.
her.
Let's unpack what you thought happiness was, if you ever knew what it was, and now what you know it to be.
For me, I would say like happiness is a state of being that no matter what. Oh, are you still there? Okay, well, I'll answer I'll answer the question while you're coming back. Happiness for me is a state of being. So if you are truly happy, then you don't really think about being happy. It's something that you just sort of live all the time. And it kind of informs who you are, it informs how you walk through the world, and it informs the types of decisions you make. And you stop making decisions out of fear. You start making decisions out of, I would say, centeredness in life and in general. And you start seeing how everything goes together. Whereas I would say before I used to compartmentalize things. And and even I have found, like in my work with women, like sometimes when I'm trying to stick to the strategies, there are so many things that are underneath that I've also experienced that need to be uncovered before the strategies can actually work.
Well, leading into, we're going to go to happiness and then also teaching other people, right? Because I remember saying, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. Yeah, yeah. So, and then I read a book called Happier by Tal Ben Shahar. And what he said was most people are rat racers. So rat racers are people who work for a present detriment for a future benefit. So we're working in our jobs for a present detriment with the future benefit being retirement. Like that's guaranteed. And then you have hedonists who are the present detriment for a future detriment. That's typically, people who sell their bodies because what you're doing today is bad today and it's going to be bad tomorrow. And then there's another one, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like what I consider to be Bernie Madoff, where it's a present benefit for a future detriment. So he was paid in the moment, but then in the future, it didn't go so well. So he said, if you're, and the happiness model is what you're doing in the present, it's a present benefit for a future benefit. Did I get that right? Or did I say it wrong?
Yes.
I think
present benefit for future benefit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Rat racers, present detriment, future benefit. Okay. So the happiness model. So he says, if you're a rat racer, which 60% of the population is, how can you offset the unhappiness in the moment as you're drudging through your work years, right? So I like to talk to students. So I would go talk to high school students and sixth graders and harass them because I was miserable in my job, but I'm a speaker. So I would like to talk and go and give back. But when I read the book, I was like, holy SH, I'm miserable. Once I had a measurement for what happiness was, I couldn't lie anymore. And then it became the journey of, okay, I can't unsee or unknow what I now know about myself. So now it's even more painful because I know I'm miserable and I'm not doing anything to change. And so when I think about, the process of owning, right, and admitting that you're unhappy, a lot of us are compartmentalizers. So we don't know if we're happy because we got boxes in the shelves of experiences that we haven't unpacked. And so
Right.
people are like, you're happy. You're like, yeah, that's in a box over there, cataloged in, like the library catalog. And I'm not sure. Whereas opposed to happiness is a lived experience. Peace is a lifestyle. It's not like a moment. It's not something doesn't need to happen that exudes from within. So what are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, for me, happiness wasn't something that I was trying to measure. Happiness was a feeling that sort of suddenly overcame me, but it happened so slowly. And like a lot of the exercises that you have us doing, especially I would say the forgiveness one was a big one. They unload things that we've been carrying, and we don't understand the weight of what we've been carrying. So it's like, I'm a scientist by trade, I guess. So, the air actually has a weight on us, and we are used to that weight. And we don't know what it would be like without air that has that weight on us. And so as we let go of some of that weight, that's when we slowly start to see things differently. But for me, it sort of overcame me as a feeling that built up over time through the unloading of these different sort of weights that had accrued from my personal experiences and my personal life, which I had not recognized. And something I remember actually that you would say, I was like, Christy, like, this is a cultural thing. And like, you don't understand, like, this is how things are. These are the responsibilities I have. These are the approaches I need to take, and you were like, yeah, but do you want to be crazy? Like, where are you going with this? And I had to sort of reflect on that. Like, am I just continuing this cycle? We talk about intergenerational cycle breakers. Am I continuing a cycle where I'm participating in something that is making me unhappy? I'm not recognizing it. And then I'm going to be unhappy and then make others unhappy moving forward, because, that's just what's done. So when are we going to sort of break that? But for me, breaking that was like a slow, methodical process. And a lot of it was based on the practices that you had made us go through. But I really, really had to exercise them in order to unload a lot of that weight.
So we won't tell all your business, because that's not what we're doing over here on this podcast. But it's almost like you were a volunteer hostage, explaining to me why you were a hostage and why you were miserable, and I can't
Justifying
get away.
it.
Yeah, you were justified. You was like, well, you don't understand. That's our culture.
Yeah. And I went further because I'm an overachiever. So I didn't just say, this is just how it is, Christy. I gave you all the reasons why this is how it is. And this is how it's supposed to be. Like, this is how it is supposed to be. And it's not even something that I've told myself over the years. It's just something like, this is what I know.
I'm laughing so loud I had to put myself on mute. Chrissy, you don't understand. I'm supposed to be miserable.
But you never think that. It's like, you don't understand. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be, and this is what I'm supposed to do. And when I be and do those things, I'm happy, even if I'm tired, exhausted, like accruing all this bitterness and resentment. Doesn't matter, because this is what I'm supposed to be.
So let's talk about it, because I talk to women all the time, and Black women say it too. You don't understand our plight. Indian women, y'all got your stuff. I was talking to somebody the other day from Nigeria. I was beating her in the head because you don't understand. That's our culture. Jamaicans got their thing. Like, we all have our thing of what's expected of us. What advice would you give your former self about the expectations that you had?
That part of it is about control, and giving up some of that control is not going to have a negative impact on you. It is going to have a positive impact on you. I would ask my former self, like, what are you actually accomplishing when you are taking all of these burdens, doing all of these things, and being this person who you believe you are supposed to be? And what's the alternative? That I guess is stage 2. That's after this question is asked. Like, what is the benefit of what you are doing? And if you did it in a different way, would you have a bigger benefit?
You see, you skating that ice so thin, to not be disrespectful. It's like the thinnest ice, because it's a cultural thing. I get it. Does that make sense? You walking a fine line. You trying to give yourself advice without being, while holding the line. But that's the struggle, Karen. Right? Is it for, because a lot of people do it. I mean, it's ingrained in us to be of service to our families.
Yes, yes. And that's a positive thing. So like what I'm saying is actually is authentic. I'm not trying to like
No,
save,
I'm
I'm
not
not
saying
trying
what
to
you were
save
stating.
anyone.
I'm just saying you were holding the line, which
Yes.
the tension is what holds people hostage. Even in trying to express it, there was still like a line that you can't just like break through and bust through and run butt naked down the beach. You're like, no, there's still a way to be able to manage it, and it's still going to be tense no matter what.
I would say
Healthy
there,
tension.
I
Healthy
would
tension.
say, huh?
Healthy tension, not in a bad way.
Healthy tension. Yes, yes. That puts it, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to express.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's talk about, when I look at these people online, right? Because you're happy. You look like you've de-aged. I got pictures. I got your before and after picture. I don't even know. Hey, this ain't even the before, because I got that picture in Vegas. I'm petty.
I should have muted. Sorry. Yes.
Are you ready? Amanda's on the line. Are you ready for this picture where Karen was telling me that she was happy?
You're gonna show the picture?
Oh, I got it. That's after you completed the program. You in my
I was
face.
like, yeah, this is amazing. Like everybody was so cool. It was great hotel, Christy, this is great. Like I'm happy. I've done all the things.
What did I say?
The way you looked at me, like I will actually also never forget the way you looked back at me when I was saying those things.
Amanda said, let me see. You be like, hey, oh my God, Christy, this is so awesome. The event is amazing. I'm having so much fun. I'm so happy. I was like, you lying. You liar.
And I didn't know why you were so upset. I was like, why is she so upset? Like, I'm doing so well. But you know what? It goes back to what you were saying. It's like when we go through these things, we think about how we're checking the boxes. And if we check the boxes, and we're so trained, like women of color love their work, we're so trained to check those boxes that once we check them, we think everything is done. But it's only like that at work. Like, yeah, everything's done, and you can just be crabby and bitter and sad. And that shows, that does show. And I couldn't see it. You need someone else powerful, someone else who you trust and who you'll listen to see it.
You so nervous to see this picture. Oh, I'm gonna show it. It was.
I'm sure I've seen it before. I love that before and after.
Look at that white. I'm finding her actually 2 years later, right? Like I look better right here in that white jacket, baby. I was like, you was like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I was like,
Great.
you lying. You ain't. Hey man, you better get it together. Did you do? And we're gonna talk about, and we're not getting into specifics, but there are hard lines that you have to draw in the sand for freedom. Does that make sense? Regardless of I said there are hard lines. Can you not hear me? Can y'all not hear me?
I just didn't hear that last sentence.
Okay, there are hard lines that you have to draw in the line for freedom. You weren't willing to do the hard thing yet, right? And I was like, man, like you're not free. And just because you were freer, that didn't mean that you had the freedom that we wanted for you, right? Like it's the same thing when we talk about on the happiness piece. It's like you were better, but you weren't free. Like you were free, you were like the first level of freedom, which is like you're happier. So it is true that you did do work, but I knew that there was a different level waiting for you of joy if you would just give yourself permission to be happy. And that's you in that pink. When you showed up in New York, I said, my God.
I came to find you.
What is going on? You said I'm gonna brace it on. Thank you, ma'am. And what? I was like, oh my God, we gotta get a picture because this lady right here, baby. So y'all see the difference before and actually this ain't before. This is better. This right here. And then we got on the line today. I'm like, okay, well, you look younger. What is going on? But that's the power of releasing, right? And allowing yourself to actually be happy. Everything relaxes.
Yeah. And you can still do the things that you want to do. You're just doing them differently. You're just doing them with a different approach.
So, what advice do you have for women who are miserable and don't think that happiness is possible?
Christy, it's funny because I deal with this same thing, and it's more related to work, that women are so resigned in a lot of cases that they don't think that there is a solution. And they don't actually even look, and it's the same thing we've been talking about in terms of happiness. They're not necessarily looking for a solution because to them, this is how things are. And this is how, it's also like a peer influence sort of thing. I see everyone who's like me going through the same thing. So this is how it is. And only when you sort of get through to an end goal that is different, that leaves you more whole and more peaceful, can you understand that there is another way. So I think like hopelessness is a big barrier. And I would say it's not, I would say, actually, okay, I'll qualify that. Like, I think it's a hopelessness, but it's not even a hopelessness, an awareness of the hopelessness. It's just kind of marching forward with the status quo and a belief that this is how it is supposed to be. Like the same way that I was approaching that in terms of happiness, not really recognizing that there is another way, that this is the way it's supposed to be, is the same way that I find women approach their sort of work situations, their leadership roles. This is how it's supposed to be. Ultimately, something bad is going to happen to me. And I don't think there's anything I can do about it. So I'm not going to even reach out to find support in those situations. And then it's also the thing you mentioned before, the vulnerability. Nobody wants to be vulnerable. So if I start thinking about, well, is this the trajectory that I want to take? And I say no, then that could also point to some issue with me or some vulnerability in me. And that's, I think, particularly relevant to women of color and immigrant women. And those are huge barriers.
So let's talk about, because I've been in the game for a long time. I mean, I might look like I'm 27.
24.
Thank you. I mean, working on it so I get this piece. Okay, right. So it's like it's like over the past 5 years, because I've been in the game a long time, right? And what's crazy to me is I'm watching y'all do what I did in 2012. We should be better. We like everybody shouldn't be falling in the ditch. So I am uniquely qualified to be able to spot a woman that's on fire who has no idea that she's on fire and who's mildly happy, understanding that you can be, well, people think I'm high and wonder what kind of coffee I drink every day, right? Like, hey, what is wrong with this lady? I am ecstatic. And so even coming into the new year, Karen, how's your new year so far? I'm like, oh, it's amazing. I made it. I'm alive. So I don't know what y'all want for the new year. I'm amazing because I'm still alive. Everybody didn't make it out of 2024. So just alone being alive is enough for me. And even if I'm losing, I'm gonna go win somehow because I have another chance to get it right. So when I think about the state of the current, and I don't know if people have always been miserable or maybe more people are just expressing their misery online. It is so pervasive on LinkedIn. I almost want to delete my profile because I can't take watching all the negativity and the fighting and everybody fighting, right? Which is
they fight to preserve the status quo, and they don't realize they're doing it. Yeah, it's uncanny.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that, right? Like you're, and I'm watching people acting like they're Atlanteans.
Oh, I think you just froze.
Hello?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can
We're
see
going
you
to have
guys.
to edit this thing. Can you hear me, Amanda? I know you're still on here. Is that my F-U-C-K? Now I'm cussing.
What happened?
I don't.
I can
think
see you.
you can hear me because my Wi-Fi is blinking, and then I started cussing. Okay, we're gonna have to edit this podcast.
I heard the cuss. Yeah, everything.
Okay,
I heard you spell it out, which is your MO. I heard it all.
Okay, this can't be live. We're gonna have to download it and chop it up. Okay, so now, I'm watching people go to the bottom of the ocean like the Atlanteans and stay there, right? Like it's normal to cope in misery, and you have this collective group of people that are like, come join us so we can all be angry and suffer together. I can't take it. I'm just like, hey, so y'all don't want to be happy no more. Like they're fighting to stay the same and even more miserable, right? We're creating communities so we can collectively suffer together in complicit bondage. I can't take it.
I don't know if that's not the stated goal. I'll say one thing, Christy. I do believe in like acknowledging what is happening out there, but I believe in acknowledging it so we can move on. So it's like it's like the title for this podcast, which I saw last night. It's okay to not be okay, but like where is the but? But now what? And that's the part that I feel is missing. So I feel like I don't necessarily get depressed when I see people talking about things because I'm glad that they are recognizing a lot of these patterns. I think the problem for me is like, well, let's also at the same time be looking at solutions. And you know, I think one of the reasons it is depressing the way you're describing is because when you read some of those things, it almost makes you feel like everybody believes that there is no solution, that the only thing that's present is the problem.
Yeah, that's the thing. Great. Acknowledge it. That's what we're talking about. Acknowledge you're on fire, but then say, okay, now let me do something. Not let me stay here.
Right.
And then create a community where we're all going to stay here because this is where we're supposed to be, which goes back to what we talked about 10 minutes ago.
Yes. And stop trying to change other people. And I know this is something you talk about a lot. Stop trying to change other people. And you know what? Even when they tell you they're going to change, they're not going to change. Like, stop relying on other people taking actions for your betterment. That might happen, and that's great. Why are we relying on that? Why aren't we empowering ourselves to move forward collectively?
That's the key. So I want to take this short commercial break to talk about the Pay Raise Playbook. Where my banner at? Because I almost had my finger on the thing to the thing. Okay, so yeah, PRP mentor, join me in my mentorship community, the Pay Raise Playbook, where we're going to go through this book and I'm going to teach live 90 days to burnout recovery. It's going to be a 10-week program, Karen. It's going to be great. I'm teaching it live in here, prpmentor.com. Join us there. All right, that's my short commercial. Now, let's talk about having, somebody that you trust call you out. Because here's the thing. A lot of times, like I put something on Instagram the other day and this lady got mad. She called me not a fraud. What she called me what they call people? Not a wankster. What she called me?
Crack? No, I haven't heard that word used in a long time, but
you ain't heard a wankster before? I'm gonna find what she called me, but she basically called me like a fraud, right? Okay. And because you trying to say, I was like, no, I'm trying to set people free, right? The real fraud is the person who tells Black women to go get a degree, an MBA to make $85,000 a year. Does that make sense? Right? A scammer. That's what she called me. She called me a scammer. I was like, a scammer? First of all, I give away more free information. Like, women have taken the stuff that I've said and went and going to ask for raises. I met a woman actually in November who was like, Christy, I watched one of your LinkedIn videos. I got right up and went to ask my boss for a raise. He gave it to me.
And sometimes that's all it takes.
I watched video on my phone. I put my phone down. I walked right in the office and she got a $30,000 raise like that. right? But she called me a scammer. And I'm like, no, the real scammer is the person that tells women to go get an MBA so they can make $85,000 a year, when MBAs are also making $600,000 a year. Does that make sense? So when I think
it
about
always makes sense, but not to everybody. Like some people need that crutch. Like if you believe in the system, you're going to need to do that. If you believe in yourself, you can move forward. So like, you know, actually even before I met you, like the kind of thing around like maneuvering was a big thing for me. Like, okay, how do I maneuver through the system? I think that is what is not necessarily being taught to women, like, or that's the mindset that isn't changing. Like, I don't have advanced degrees, and actually that is one of my superpowers. So I'm able to maneuver in rooms full of PhDs, in rooms full of people with master's degrees, and see things and catch blind spots that they're sometimes unable to catch because of the way of thinking that ingrains us into. And so I would also say that part of this degree, the degree piece that you're bringing up, is like, it actually keeps us, it keeps us where we are, with even sort of these stronger sort of holds on us. But some people, the ones who don't think things are going to change, want to be held by that. And so they seek whatever comfort they can find. And they seek that comfort in finding those degrees instead of maneuvering, which is much more, it's a higher level of difficulty. And it's something we don't talk about enough.
So let's talk about it. Preach it. I was like, oh, tell me about maneuvering, right? Because I wrote an article last year about why a Black woman's PhD is less valuable than a white man's. And Dr. Benjamin Hardy got his PhD in organizational behavior, wrote these books. They're brilliant. But he linked up with Dan Sullivan, right, who was a super successful entrepreneur, was like, talk to me long enough to give me your concepts, and then I'm going to write a book about your stuff, right? So he had a plan for the PhD. He didn't just say, I'm going to get a PhD so you can see that I have value, Karen. He said, I'm going to get a PhD. Then I'm going to interview super successful people, and I'm going to take their concepts and I'm going to put it into a book, and we're going to collaborate. And that's how I'm going to build like my credibility. I'm not looking for the PhD to say that I have value. That's where women of color get it twisted, right? Women of color be like, I'm going to get the executive MBA. The executive MBA has value, not me. You didn't have a plan for it, right? And then it's like the PhD, well, you didn't see in the 2 master's degrees I got. Let me go get a PhD, making $65,000 a year, which is insane, right? Whatever.
Yeah. And the more we try to get those degrees, the more we try to prove ourselves, the less value we actually are showing for
yourself.
Yeah.
Because you say that the degree has value while you're an appreciating asset who hasn't learned how to maneuver, which is what you just talked about. So let's talk about maneuvering. Break it down for us, Dr. Karen.
Well, what specifically?
So when you talk about maneuvering the rooms, it's all about when people say, Christy, oh my God, you're so confident. I'm like, I'm not confident. You call it confidence. I'm just aware that I'm the greatest mother to ever do it. Like, you know, I don't like to cuss, but I do. So it's like, no, I'm aware of who I am. So I can walk in rooms and I'm not shook by anybody who's in the room, because I know that I understand that I'm great. Now, I'm not measuring myself, because I can never be greater than Karen Patwa, right? I can never be, greater than Amanda Sabal or Kathy Wright. Like, I'm not comparing my greatness to yours.
Right.
I just think that I'm great because I'm better than I was 2 months ago. So I'm not looking for you and your approval of me for me to approve of me. How you feel about me has nothing to do with how I see myself. That's awareness. It's not confidence.
Yes. So I understand your question. And I think, actually, to be honest, I mean, I believe in astrology to some extent. I think the fact that we are both Leos has something to do with it. But yes, and I feel like when I walk into a room, I'm also assessing. I am actually assessing everyone else. I'm just not comparing myself to everyone else. I'm thinking, okay, everyone has their own growth pathway that they are on, regardless of, we have this measure of a number of degrees or looks or the clothes you're wearing or whatever it is, right? And everyone's playing in that field what do we have that is outside of those sort of standard measures? Yeah, I can put the clothes on. I can get the degree just like anyone else. I can do, I can, I don't remember what the third thing I just said was, but I can do all of those things to play that game. But what makes me what I am? What are my strengths? And I think that it goes also back to awareness that you're talking about. If I go into a room and I'm aware of what I am good at, and I can assess and understand what other people are also working on, I end up leveling the playing field, and I end up understanding what everybody brings to the table in any given situation. And I can be very clear to everyone else about what I'm bringing to the table, not just through my words, but also through my actions. And I think doing that intentionally is part of that maneuvering.
It's interesting because I was thinking about how long after I mentally collapsed, how long it really took me to get my mind right. It took from 20, probably 14 is when I like went smash, to a good 2020, just in time for everybody to figure out it was crazy during COVID. That was 6 years, right? So it's like you don't know how great you are. And I remember showing up in these rooms, and I'm gonna start unpacking it this year. And I went to this event. It cost me $10,000 to be in the room. It had all these great women in the room. I didn't talk for the first 2 days because I was so embarrassed that I burned out, right? Because I'm smoked. This is 2015. I'm smoked out sitting in the room with all these great people. And I didn't talk because I was so embarrassed and I felt like I was nobody. And so on the third day, when I started talking, and this is why I started talking, Dr. Karen, it's like, and I know you don't need that, but it's kind of funny. But I started talking because I was so embarrassed that I burned out. And I'm sitting in all these, women, bad ASS. And one woman got on stage and she had a book, and her publicist was beside her, and she's sharing her story around the world, and she had been gang raped, right? And she could share that story freely. And then one woman used to cut herself. She was bulimic. She was sexually assaulted by her professor. She had like 5 things, right? She had a book. She had a nice house. She had a following, and she was serving people. And I'm sitting there in my shame. And I was like this. So what happened to you again? Because you're ashamed. There was somebody who had it worse, right? And I was so like that. That was one of the many turning point moments in my journey of remembering who I was. So on the third day, I started talking, and the women were like, "Thank God, because you're a lioness. Like you're this powerful person sitting in the room." But I had so much shame around burning out, and so much shame around admitting that I had, fallen into a hole. But long before I admitted that I was, smoked out, before I fell off the cliff. And now on the way back up, people can still see you in a positive light. It doesn't matter if a powerful woman falls down, you're still powerful. And you don't lose it until you start to feel sorry for yourself, because that's when it's over. Right. So I never felt sorry for myself. I was just embarrassed, and I just didn't say anything. And I was like, oh my God. So Christy, and I heard my inner voice say, so what happened to you again? So, okay, so how about you get up, heal yourself so you can go inspire other people who are burning out as well. So anyway.
Yeah. And it reminds you of this thing. Something that I've always sort of thought when I'm maneuvering through these spaces, like there will be people. And again, this is why I like when people sort of acknowledge what's actually happening. There are people that will try to put you down. There are people that will actually be threatened by that greatness. They'll be threatened by, well, why are you in this room? Everyone here has a PhD. You don't. Why are you here? Now they suddenly start to focus on you. And now they suddenly want to try to sort of take you apart because you don't fit into their status quo of what makes an effective or, like glorious human being. And so people will often try to shame us for various things. They will try to victimize us. And I have no issue saying, yes, somebody has tried to victimize me in this situation, but they did not make me a victim. They victimized me, but I'm not a victim. I know what I am. And I think another part of that maneuvering is being very, very clear on who we are, and that it is not created, who we are is not created by those sort of material measurables, such as the degrees, the clothes. It's really our integrity. It's really what's inside of us that makes us who we are, and how consistent and steadfast we are in who we are.
You said something good. I'm gonna come back to it, and then we're gonna close out. So that goes from the self-awareness, which was my shame, to now awareness that I'm the baddest mother in the land. And then now you understanding that you're like the greatest. When you know who you are to the cellular level, right? Who you are, why you're here, the impact that you came to make. You can't be shook when you're in rooms with petty people. As long as they don't put their hands on me, Karen, I'm cool. Right? You can say what you want. You can roll your eyes. I remember going to like this Harvard versus Yale football game, right? There's a difference between Harvard Business School and Harvard, whatever. But I went to the Harvard versus Yale football game, and in Chicago, where the super bougie people are. And I remember talking to this super tall, white guy, and he's like some owner of a huge law firm. And I talked to him. He acted like I didn't say a word to him. Like he just looked right through me like I was dust. I was like, all right. I didn't allow that to ruin my day. I didn't make a video. I didn't create a post. I didn't crumble in front of him and be like, oh my God, you're so disrespectful. And you did this. I was like, all right, fine. You ain't gotta talk to me. Like, I'm not going to try to make you like me. I don't need your approval of me. And I think that's where a lot of women get it twisted, because we're walking into rooms trying to see whether or not people know that we have value, or whether that they can see that we're valuable, and they don't give us what we think we owe. It is gangbusters. Does that make sense? And then they beat themselves up, as opposed to understanding. You be like, yeah, you try to play me, but that's not going to work over here. So
it's short-lived. It's a nuisance, if anything. It's a short-lived nuisance. And once we can move on from it, rather than accumulating all of those things, we just need to continue moving forward in who we are and what we know to be true.
So what's the advice, or I would say, how would you have managed that situation in 2021 versus today? Right.
Well, this is something I think I've been doing all my life. I had a father who believed in me. I had, a mother who was like a creative sort of genius, and I had good influences in my life. And so I feel like for me, that confidence aspect was not the biggest issue. It was more, for me, the experience was more about dealing with people who were trying to victimize me over and over and over and over again. So the way I think the way I would have handled that situation when I was a teenager is the same as the way I would have handled that situation in 2021, 2024. It's a nuisance, and I need to just continue stepping forward, because I know that I'm here for something bigger. And maybe that's the Leo thing too. I don't know, but I've always known that I'm here to do certain things. Otherwise, why would I be here? And the things I need to do might be different from, you saw the Kamala Harris video, right? That's been going around. So like the things I need to accomplish, if I were Kamala Harris, are different from the things that this little piddly senator has to accomplish or needed to do by, snubbing her in his old fashioned, traditional, smug, boring way. And let's just move on. Like it's a nuisance. Let's move on until it starts affecting my career, my future. That's when I take action. But before that, it's a nuisance. And the less we give attention to these nuisances, the less they will ultimately impact us.
Yeah. Because if you feed your mind with that constantly, you're almost by law of attraction creating it in your own life.
Yes. 100% agree.
Okay. So before we jump, what advice do you have for people with regards to creating boundaries? Like, I almost forgot what I named this thing. Oh, it's creating boundaries.
We have to have a part 2. We're going to have to do a part 2. I can't sum that up. That's a tall order, Chris. You want me to sum up advice?
That's what we're supposed to be talking about in 45 minutes. We'll do a part 2.
I'll say
Well,
this.
let's
I'll
let's
say
let's
this.
stick let's stick to the theme of what we're talking about. I'm gonna have to change the
Yes. Let's
title on the outside. We have to do a little
change
intro.
it on the back
People
end.
will be like, that ain't what we talked about.
Let's just say that they're. Let's just say that boundaries and happiness are related. For now.
So what? Wait, hold on. We're gonna have to cut that part. So what advice? What advice do you have for people with
On how to
regards to
change the world.
acknowledging that they're not happy? Because that's what we're talking about, right? Like,
What
it's
advice do I have
okay.
for people who are rock stars but are not happy?
No, like, so I named the thumbnail was at least the right title. It's okay to be okay, right? It's not okay to stay there. So what advice do you have for people with regards to acknowledging that they're not where they want to be, mentally, physically, emotionally happy, and shifting out of that to change for the best? Like, what advice do you have for people? We're admitting that they're not happy. How
What
did that
advice do I
work?
have for women to help them admit that they're not happy? I would say it's a process, and what I would say is, those women you talk about who come to you and say, happiness for me is a moment. And that's also something I've heard before. Well, what is that? Stop. Get rid of these. You're gonna mess up my advice. Happiness is, if happiness to you is a moment, what would it look like if that moment had spread out through your entire life? And what would that feel like? And then, there is a way for us to get there. We just have to trust each other.
Okay, so you have your consultancy firm. So what are you doing? Like, you ain't spelled it out. So go ahead and make your offer to the people. What you doing?
So I named it. Well, I don't. If you remember, my last business was Dangerous Mathematicians. It was a fashion label that I did for 10 years. And actually, I never wanted to open up another business. And then I spent way too much time with you and Raquel. And I was like, this is what I have to do. And the reason I wanted to do it was because I wanted to specifically support women who are in situations like the ones that I have been in as a business owner and as an organizational leader. Because again, acknowledging there are things that happen, how we respond to them is what can make or break us in a situation. And I'm tired of women of color getting picked on. I'm tired of them getting scapegoated. I'm tired of them getting sabotaged. And what I want to see is women of color succeeding in their positions without being overworked, without feeling like they're constantly being micromanaged, nitpicked, and microaggressed against, and without constantly feeling like they are fighting a battle every day. So how can we manage those power dynamics on a day-to-day basis? And so if people want to find me, they can go to my website. It's just KarenPatwaConsulting.com. Follow me on LinkedIn, go to my LinkedIn page. I'm continuing to develop like more content around this and some of the stuff that we're talking about today, and want us to grow collectively.
Okay. Well, thank you, ma'am. Y'all work with Karen because she's the best. And then also check us out over at prpmentor.com. We're going through this course because my goal is to set women free for themselves. And then once we set y'all free, then we're going to get this money. I mean, because the world is available to you, is wide open after you get yourself aligned with who you are and who you're meant to be in the world. So, all right. Bye, y'all. Don't hang up, Karen. Y'all take care.
Bye, everyone.